Well, good afternoon. My name is Bob Simmons. I'm the mayor of the city of Walnut Creek, and I'm here to make a couple comments, and then I'll introduce my two other people here, and then we'll proceed. We take the safety of those who live and work in Walnut Creek and those who visit our wonderful community very seriously. We also take very seriously the safety of our police officers. We have an excellent police force, and it is through their efforts that the crime rate for serious crimes dropped 16% from 2010 to 2011. Over the last couple of months, we have been observing some late night bar activity, and last week, the City Council met to discuss the late night bar policies and directed the staff to proceed aggressively to prepare an ordinance for our review and consideration that would give the city all the legal tools that it needed to deal with the late night bar situation. And that the events of this past weekend have caused us to take another look at it today, and that's why we're here. And with me is the city manager, Ken Nordoff, and the chief of police, Joel Bryden, and they will provide some more specifics about the situation and the city's response.
Ken Nordoff, City Manager in Walnut Creek. I'd just like to add, in addition to the mayor's comments, that we are taking some immediate and necessary steps, and I'm going to let the chief elaborate on this in a minute, about some additional police staffing in our downtown area starting this weekend. And I also want to say that in addition to the regulatory ordinances and additional initiatives that the mayor referred to last week, we are also addressing the isolated owners and operators of these establishments as necessary. So we have been taking enforcement action. In fact, one of those items is under appeal consideration in front of the City Council this next Tuesday. So where we have appropriate evidence and can take additional steps for enforcement, we are continuing to do so. And now I'll let the chief elaborate on the staffing.
Thanks, Ken. Joel Bryden, Chief of Police for the City of Walnut Creek. And let me just say that we take any violence in our city very seriously, and the late night bar activity has become violent on occasion, and because of that, we are taking steps to try to thwart that. Effective this weekend, we will have additional staffing, significant additional staffing downtown late at night to thwart any problems that could be caused by people enjoying our downtown. That will be taken over a number of weeks in order to stem this activity, and then we will be looking for long-term solutions through the police department to try to get a permanent fix to this issue. But we do take it very seriously, and any business, just like any individual that uses an inordinate amount of our resources or breaks the law is going to be held accountable, and that's why we're here to make sure that our community is safe.
With that, we are here to answer any questions that you might have. If not, yes, sir.
Can you tell us what are the requirements for security for these clubs, and what the plan is for them in the future?
Each bar, there are two types of alcohol establishments we have downtown, ones with conditional use permits and ones without. But depending on the size of the club, the size of the business, and the number of patrons they can have, they're required to have a certain number of security, and each of them have security guards, or doormen, if you will. Bouncers is the common term, that check IDs at the door. And let me reiterate that a huge majority of the businesses downtown that serve alcohol do a great job and never cause us any issues at all. It's only a select few that we have issues with. And
so in your opinion, what is it that's causing these problems? As a journalist, I've been covering this for 2 years. It hasn't just been cropped up. I mean, these roaming bar fights have been going on for quite a while. In your opinion, what is it, if you got some that are able to control them, what is it that's causing these other bars to have these problems?
There are people that are coming out of certain establishments that have had too much to drink. They've been overserved. And when that happens, people do things that they normally wouldn't do. And thus we have issues downtown late at night.
So you're saying these people, these bar owners need to be held accountable for over-serving their customers?
Yes.
And what kind of enforcement are you gonna use on them?
We are going to start checking the bars more regularly. We've already been doing that, but we have additional personnel now that will be doing that more downtown to make sure that there are people that aren't underage, that haven't been overserved, that are not drunk in public. And then when they do leave the bar at whatever time, we're going to make sure that they're behaving themselves and they can get on their way in a cab or with a designated driver to ensure their safety as well.
And what's the penalty, what's the harshest penalty involved here?
For
For establishments that are over-serving their people and letting the stuff get out of control?
Well, this is why we presently have a conditional use permit process, but it doesn't apply to all of the establishments in the city. And so some of the remedies that we have, once we have full local control over these establishments, is to reduce the hours that they can operate, and then do that until such time as they can demonstrate again to us that they can operate in a safe manner, in a manner respectful of the community in which they are.
Mayor, you know, putting more officers in nighttime hours and, you know, it's a great plan, but sounds somewhat cost-worthy on long-term, you know, if you look long-term. Is there any thought about possibly bringing back hours from 1:30 or 2, maybe to 12? I don't know.
Well, I think that's what I just did address, which is for those problem establishments, if we have the case that demonstrates that in fact the problem arose from their establishment, we will go through the process that we have, and there's a legal process we have to follow. And one of the remedies that we will have will be to reduce their hours. But as the chief said, we have a lot of establishments, and some of which are open and served till 2 a.m. that have not provided any problem at all. And so we need to be respectful of the fact that we've got a lot of establishments that are really good business partners in Walnut Creek, and a few that we need to address our resources to.
How many problem bars do you have, and can you name the ones that are on notice, so to speak?
I'd rather not identify a number or name any of those that are on notice. There is an appeal pending before the city council this Tuesday, and you can get the name from the agenda report that'll be issued on Friday.
Out of all the arrests that have been made, are the people who are being arrested from Walnut Creek? I noticed the 2 men that were arrested were from Bay Point. You know, because I'm just wondering if it plays a factor at all of people from outside of Walnut Creek coming in and causing problems, or no, it's strictly an issue of bars over-serving patrons?
Well, whether they're from Walnut Creek or not, if they're overserved, they're overserved, and they cause problems, they cause problems. But generally, we find there are a lot of people come here for everything, for shopping, for dining, for entertainment, for the leisure center, and people to enjoy our bars during the early night hours and then late night hours. A lot of them are not from Walnut Creek, and quite frequently we arrest people not from Walnut Creek, but we arrest people from our city also.
Okay, I just didn't know if there's a trend, whereas most of these arrests were of people who are not from Walnut Creek, or no, you haven't noticed that?
The last time I checked, a majority of the people that we were arresting were not from Walnut Creek. I haven't checked those numbers lately.
Chief, how much is significant additional staffing, and are you calling on adjoining agencies to help you out on this?
We would only call joining agencies as if we ran out of personnel for a significant amount of time and were unable to handle what was going on ourselves. As far as the number, we don't like to give out specific numbers because that can fluctuate depending on vacation, training, sick leave, and so on and so forth. But suffice to say, it will be a significant number that we hope will put a dent, and a large dent, into the issues that we're having late at night.
So how much does this, this time of decreased resources, does it cut into the city's financial situation?
It depends on how many hours they work and how many people we use and how long it goes.
So you're looking at significant overtime?
It's overtime, but I think the safety of the community is more significant than than dollars spent. We need to make sure that our community is safe, and we're willing to do that with the resources we have.
How long are you going to keep this up?
We're going to keep it up for several weeks, and we're also looking at doing some readjustments in the police department, of which we'll make decisions on next week or the week after that, and then we'll go from there and see what plan we come up with.
The East Bay, I guess Walnut Creek, what I've been seeing is that has become kind of the hub for nightlife in the East Bay over the past 2 years. Is Walnut Creek seeing an increase in the number of nightclubs here, or are you just seeing an increase of the same clubs and out of the blue, all of a sudden, they're over-serving people.
We, whenever we get an application for a new business, a new nightclub, we take into consideration a number of factors. And for several years now, we have not allowed a new club to come in or a new alcohol establishment and stay open until 2 a.m. Anyone that comes in now and has come in for a number of years has been under a conditional use permit. And we allow those when I believe, along with the planning department director, that it's good for business and is not going to overtax the resources that we have.
So you're just seeing kind of an explosion of people being attracted to Walnut Creek's same establishments that you've had over the past 2 years?
Well, we've had a significant number of people in the 3.5 years I've worked here. We've had a significant number of people downtown late at night. What we haven't seen, which we have in the last few months, well, let me back up. We have issues. When people are drinking, there are going to be issues. And we've been able to handle those issues. Over the last few months, they've become more significant and worrisome where we believe we need to put additional resources to it, and we're going to do that.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Downtown San Jose had this similar problem like this, and their sort of crackdown caused a huge uproar, not among just the public, but even among some bar owners and restaurant owners down there, because it was affecting the businesses. And also, you know, that there were a number of lawsuits were filed, there were charges of inappropriate police action. Tell me about that. Is there some concern? Are you going to monitor all of that?
I have no concern because our officers do a tremendous job. And I'm not sure what they did in San Jose exactly, but I can tell you that we're going to be professional. We're going to treat people right. And if a business is running itself properly, then they probably won't even see us. But we have no intention of violating anyone's rights or doing anything wrong. We're going to be professional and act properly the entire time. But that doesn't mean we won't hold people and or businesses that break the law accountable.
Will these be all in-uniform officers or undercover officers?
I'm not going to say what that's going to be, but you'll see more officers in uniform, I can tell you that.
Are the majority of fights taking place at the same bars?
It's all over the map. There's no rhyme or reason.
Last week, Councilwoman Christina Lawson proposed at a meeting you guys had that perhaps you should do a moratorium on any more establishments that sell alcohol. Are you guys considering that now? Is that going to be happening at the next meeting on February 7th? Or?
The meeting on February 7th is to address an appeal by a specific bar owner. We are looking at a broad range of activities. What we directed the staff to prepare last week was what's called a deemed approved ordinance, and we did not provide any further direction with regard to that.
Are you willing to go as far as taking away the conditional use permit as a penalty?
I'm not sure I'm prepared to answer that right now, and in partial response to one of the prior questions, we have an excellent city attorney's staff, and we are going to be proceeding as aggressively as we can, consistent with the legal obligations that we have to meet, and so that when we take action, we know that it is going to stick and be firm. And it may be challenged, but we're going to do so in a way that we know we can protect the city and yet to be defensible legally.
Do I understand, are you going to change closing hours, or are you going to stagger hours? One of the issues is that you close the bar at the same time, and you get hundreds of people coming out of the bar at the same time.
Right, so as a reminder, and the chief alluded to this, we have a series of businesses under our conditional use permit process that started in 2004. And so we have been regulating staggered closing hours for those businesses. We have another series that are not subject to that. They've been grandfathered in or not subject to that permitting process. So some of them close early because they want to. Some of them choose to stay open late. So the new regulations that we're looking at will allow us to further reduce hours, but only on a case-by-case basis and only where there's incidents or provocation or need to address that situation. So they won't change automatically, if that's your question, going forward.
What's that time frame? When do you, early closing?
There's 11:30 all the way up till 2 a.m.
So this,
And-
if I understand it, this is, the ordinance that you're thinking of writing up, this would reduce or move forward the hours of where they can serve alcohol, or what,
It-
until they can stay open?
It would not change anybody's existing conditions. It would simply put everybody on a level playing field, that were we having problems, we have the tools to come forward, make findings, do an investigation, and we could reduce hours or impose a number of other things as a matter of putting a conditional use permit into place for those establishments that don't have it today. We can also modify the hours of ones that are governed under a conditional use permit today. We really have two sets of rules, and these new regulations are trying to get that down to a level playing field for all of the establishments across the city, not just in downtown.
How soon
Okay.
do you plan to ratify this, put it into action?
City Attorney's Office is currently drafting the ordinance. It'll need to go to our Planning Commission, which we hope to do this next month in February, and then it will come to the City Council following that. And then there's a 30-day state law that requires to pass before it can be implemented. So it will be roughly, it will become effective probably the end of March, 1st of April timeframe.
And just to be as clear as possible, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The ordinance itself will state what? That the hours can be staggered?
It will, no, it will allow us, everyone that's in place will still be governed by the same rules that they have in place. There'll be a series of things that, if we are having problems at a particular establishment, we can invoke a number of conditions. So if they're causing drunkenness, lewdness, public intoxication, if those are problems associated to a particular business, we'll have the ability to further regulate them at the local level, including their hours, et cetera. So you should walk away knowing nobody's hours of business are changing. If we're not conveying that clearly, the new ordinance is not automatically changing anybody's hours of business.
It's just giving the city power to.
It's giving us the ability to do that in a case where we have an isolated, small number of problem establishments that need further regulation.
Who makes that decision? The police chief, or is there a committee, or?
Well, we're looking at a couple of options in the ordinance. It could be done at the staff level. It could also be done, and ultimately it might work, it would happen at the planning commission, and then on appeal, most likely would end up with the city council. But the decisions, the frontline decision would not start at the city council level.
And Mayor, do you feel that the city may have let this go on a little longer than it should have? Or do you feel like you guys are being prompt and taking quick action on this?
You know, the city council established a couple years ago an alcohol task force that started the process of developing this ordinance. And that's really what was presented to us last week for further consideration. So we've been looking at the problem for quite a while. We've been considering taking action. And the appeal that we have next week is from an individual enforcement action that was started by the city in probably early November. So I think we are taking action, and I think what the city council did last week was speak very strongly that this is a safe city, but we want to make sure it continues to be a safe city for everybody.
Are you, do you encourage the type of nightlife business that's growing here in the city, or do you want to put a halt to it?
We encourage a type of nightlife that is vibrant and safe for the community, where people can go and enjoy and have a good time and not have any concern for their personal welfare. We have no interest in having individuals have fights in our downtown or anything of that nature.
So Mayor, can you, bottom line, can you say, what do you say to people out there who are planning maybe to come down to Walnut Creek for a night of whatever? What do you want them to know if they come down?
I'm not sure what you mean by a night of whatever, and I might have to put some restrictions. If somebody wants to come down to the downtown and enjoy a production at our wonderful leisure theater, or have a nice dinner, or even come down and have a drink, come on down. This is a safe city. The problems of this past weekend occurred after 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were 3 isolated incidents, and the police dealt with them very effectively and very promptly. So I would still say to people, please come down. This is a great city.